They say winter builds character, but in the Middle Ages, it mostly built graves. There were no thermostats, no heated blankets, no warm coffee mugs. Just cold, endless biting cold, and the sound of your own teeth chattering inside a wooden cottage that smelled like smoke in despair. It always begins the same way. Autumn fades, the fields go silent, and suddenly you realize the sun isn't your friend anymore. You start counting firewood the way modern people count money, because in winter, wood is money. It's life. You stack it carefully. Too tight and it molds. Too loose and it collapses. Either way, you lose toes before you lose hope. By February, most peasants were down to burning fence posts, broken carts, or whatever still vaguely resembled wood. If it burns, it's fuel. No one cares if it used to be a chair or your grandmother's favorite stool. At night, you huddle close to the flames, not for comfort, just to stay human. The cottage smells like a campfire trapped inside a barn. There's no privacy, no quiet, just family, livestock, and smoke. A strange, sweaty orchestra of survival. Chickens cluck in the dark. A pig grunts near your bed, and somewhere in that chaos, you sleep, or tried to. Fire was everything. It cooked your food, it kept you from freezing, and it reminded you, just barely, that you were still alive. But fire was greedy. It wanted more wood, more sweat, more of you. And if you didn't feed it, it left you to the cold. That's the thing about medieval winters. You didn't beat them. You survived them. One splinter at a time. Chopping wood was a kind of misery that deserves its own chapter. Your gloves, if you even had any, soaked through in minutes. The axe slipped, your fingers went numb, and every log felt heavier than regret. But you kept going, because stopping wasn't an option. In winter, hesitation kills faster than the cold. And then came hunger. Real hunger. Not the kind that makes you crave snacks, but the kind that makes you stare at bark and wonder if it's chewable. Every meal was a negotiation between what you had and what you could stomach. The stew, if you can call it that, was a permanent resident on the fire. You added to it daily, like a grim experiment. A carrot here, a dried bean there, and maybe a mystery ingredient that no one talked about. It smelled like boiled earth and regret, but it filled your stomach just enough to stop the pain. Bread was the dream, the thing people talked about the way we talk about love. Thick, heavy, sometimes even made with barley or rye, sometimes even sawdust or bark. On good days, it was food. On bad days, it was a weapon. And sometimes it fought back. Ergot fungus grew in damp grain, poisoning entire villages. People hallucinated, convulsed, and saw angels or demons in the snow. You didn't know why. You just prayed you wouldn't be next. If you were lucky, you had milk. If the cows survived, you churn it into butter or hard cheese, saltier than tears, tougher than bone. Butter was gold. You hid it under your bed, safe from rats, children, and desperate neighbors. In winter, butter was wealth and warmth. Eggs, a miracle. You might get one a week if the hens didn't freeze or quit out of protest. Fresh vegetables? Forget it. Maybe some shriveled turnips or sour cabbage. Crunchy disappointment in vinegar, they called it. But it kept away scurvy, and that counted for something. Preservation was everything. You smoked, salted, dried, and pickled anything that dared to exist. Bones were boiled twice. Ashes from the fire were used to make soap. Nothing went to waste. Not even the bad memories. And then came the bad winters, the kind people remembered by name. The winter of 43, when the river froze solid and roofs collapsed under snow. Or the Great Famine of 1316, when rains drowned the crops and hunger ruled every home. People burned furniture, tore down barns, and prayed harder than they ever had. Some didn't make it. Others just walked away, into the snow. No one asked where they went. Everyone knew. And yet, somehow, every spring, the thaw would come. The snow would melt, the mud would swallow your boots, and you'd breathe again. You survived. Barely. Smoke-stained, frost-bitten, exhausted, but alive. There were no medals, no songs of glory, just the quiet pride of not being a popsicle. Not this year. You'd rebuild the fence you burned, patch the roof again, count your remaining fingers, and start cutting wood, because next winter was only a few months away. In the end, the medieval